Hey guys! Welcome to a special episode of my crypto gaming journey, and today I have invited a very special guest that will help shed some light on Big Time's current state, as well as future development plans and who knows, maybe even drop some leaks. Without further ado, I want to wish a warm welcome to Matthew, guild lead for Big Time. Matthew, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Happy to have you here. Matthew, I've put together a list of questions, two of which have been chosen directly from the community. Those two people will be rewarded with a Ruby Pass, and we have 3 more to give away during this AMA. For our listeners that might not be familiar with Big Time's pass system, there were 4 different passes, Gold, Silver, Jade and Ruby, that granted early access to the game at various moments in time, players also being able to loot exclusive limited time NFT drops. Matthew, please walk us through the upcoming timeline for Big Time, as many veteran players including myself are waiting eagerly for space NFTs to be introduced. I would also like to know if the bear market changed the project's long-term roadmap.
So, right now, you can collect space as an NFT inside the game, but you can't use it yet. The next big thing for us in terms of development is going to actually be allowing users to use space inside the game, setting it up, customizing their area, changing the layout, and maybe even being able to invite some players into their area. We're probably 2 or 3 months away from where that release is going to be. In the lead up to that, we're going to talk about the economy, and we're going to release some more information about the economy, probably talk about some questions that people have with it. And then after we release the information on that economy, that's when space will come in. It's still probably a couple years away. You asked about the bear market too. That's a good question.
Yeah.
The bear market has been a very tough time, we know, for a lot of people. But we built Big Time to exist even without a user wanting to set up a wallet or be involved with cryptocurrency. It's a game first, but it has definitely affected some of the Web3 users' interest inside of GameFi. But that's why we've been working with some other high quality game Web3 projects that are doing really well, that are also revolutionizing the space, and we highlight their good work. But at the end of the day, we built a very good game, and it's going to be able to exist even if there's a bear market or a bull market. And people can still collect NFTs. Why? Because this is something that we know that people like even long before Web3 existed. So it's been a building time for us. And yes, some people are struggling a little bit right now, and we are looking for it to turn around. But we are still really confident that we're building a really good game that people are going to like.
For those of you that might not be familiar with that, Big Time NFTs strictly serve a cosmetic purpose because they wanted to avoid any pay-to-win models, right?
Absolutely. We know people use cosmetics inside of video games long before Web3 was a big thing.
Yeah.
So Fortnite is a very popular example.
Exactly.
We know many MMOs did it too. That hasn't changed.
And
Web2 gaming hasn't changed significantly with the bear market.
Yeah, exactly. And also the mounts from World of Warcraft, basically, they serve the same function. They only have different skins. So
Exactly.
they can also be considered cosmetics. Okay, sticking to the GameFi aspect of the game. From what I remember, on Space NFTs, players will be able to build an hourglass. And those that do so will be able to farm Big Time tokens in-game because as far as I know, Big Time tokens will strictly be available in-game. There hasn't been any pre-sale for those. Correct me if I'm wrong. And what I wanted to ask is, will these tokens drop from any creatures and what will they be used for?
You're correct. So they're only going to be dropped from inside the game. There's not going to be an IDO or ICO for them. They're going to be similar to the drops that you see for NFTs currently. So right now it's mostly mobs and bosses that drop the token, and it's probably going to be similar only mobs and bosses drop NFTs for cosmetics. So it's probably going to be a similar effect with the Big Time token. So they're going to be available in a wide variety throughout the game, but also there's going to be the introduction of a more robust storyline in a non-combat area in this world called Epic City. So not only are mobs and bosses going to drop it, but there's also going to be some interesting ways to collect it by playing the Big Time storyline as well. The main function of the token is that it's an ingredient that you need to upgrade NFTs. So when you think about, I'll use an example of cooking. So let's say you want to make a very rare sword, or a legendary sword, and let's say you have a rare sword. So you need to go out, you need to have space in your Time Warden, collect some in-game tokens. You need to take that rare level version of the sword, and then you're going to put it inside your Forge and Armory, and then you're going to upgrade it. It may take some hours or it may take some days. Basically, the token is a key ingredient that you need to upgrade things.
And the resulting item will still be an NFT, right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Sticking to the in-game economy aspect of the things, in order to better accommodate new players, once Ruby Pass rolled out, I know that a character reset got implemented. To be honest, at first I was skeptical about this, but I got to the conclusion that it was the right call. And my arguments for this were that groups are being formed easier, dungeon difficulty has been increased, and items also received the minimum level requirement. In my opinion, all of these changes prevented players from skipping content, putting even more focus on finding groups for dungeons. And I also mentioned this quite frequently in my big time previous reviews. Are there any plans for endgame content, such as raids or more difficult dungeons with different layouts, or can we expect new zones to open up for exploration?
Yeah, so the one of the interesting content things that we released, I think, with one of the wipes was the Siphon. And so that was a brand new looking type of dungeon, very aesthetically different with the disappearing levels, one of the more advanced stages. So pretty cool, I thought. It looked totally different from everything else that had been inside the game. So yeah, every single time we do a patch upgrade or a wipe, it's paired with new content. And I think generally speaking, every month that we've been in alpha, there's been new content released into the game, new levels, new balancing, new improvements to quality of life. So look for that to continue. Prior to global launch, we are going to release, like I said, an entire other world for people to play. It's going to be called Epic City. Very different style of gameplay. So that, in addition to more dungeons, more different types of dungeons, is what people can look forward to well before the global launch of the game.
Do you consider implementing a higher player limit dungeon as well? I'm referencing to World of Warcraft's example with raids. Right now in big times dungeons there is a limit of 6 players. Will we see in the future a dungeon or raid, whatever it's going to be named, with a higher limit of players, say 15 or 20?
In the short term, I don't think there's any plans right now to increase the number of players inside of each dungeon. I think it's going to remain at 6 for a little bit. And some of that has to do with the optimization of the levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
We still want to be able to add more people onto each server without having to segment it as much. We want a ton more people on there, but we're just not there developmentally or from a balance perspective yet. I think we can do it in the future, but at least in the short term, it's going to remain at around 6.
Got you. This is the reason basically why I love MMORPGs, because they always offer the possibility of expanding content and adding new content for the players. And traditionally, one of the easiest ways to introduce new content was through quests, right? Has the team ever discussed about adding quests to the game so that players who enjoy solo content have a higher variety of activities?
Absolutely. So solo gameplay and quests are a big part of the pipeline before we get to the open beta of the game to accommodate exactly what you just said. So there is going to be a lot more solo gameplay, including quests and more. It'll vary with the style of gameplay, so that if you're more into like crafting, or if you're into just combat, or if you're into playing the storyline, you're going to be able to find something that you enjoy without having to play it with a group.
That's nice, because as far as I remember from World of Warcraft, there were different audiences for different parts of the gameplay. So it's nice to know that anyone can find something to do in big time at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's certainly the goal. Like, there's a bunch of different types of players out there, and MMO, I think, is a good melting pot for people who like to fight, people who like to play alone, people who like to play in big groups.
Exactly.
And you have to be able to accommodate them. And it's a challenge from the development standpoint. Like, a PvP game is hard to balance, but relatively easy in terms of content, because the levels aren't very big and your entertainment comes from fighting other players. But in MMO, it's all the content that the creators make. That's what keeps people playing. So that one's pretty challenging.
Exactly. Now that you brought this up in the discussion, is it safe to assume that Big Time will also feature a PvP mode or arena?
No, I don't think so. At least not until after the global launch of the game. So ballpark, I just for a discussion, not that it
Yeah,
has
sure.
any final date. I would say probably first quarter of 2023 is when the global launch of the game is going to happen. So
Okay.
pretty far away.
Okay.
Like I said, there's a lot of content that will get added to the game until then, but the focus really is on getting to a good open beta of the game with solo gameplay, some more levels, and more content inside of the ones we've already released. PvP would come after that. What I
Right.
can tell you though is we still want to do competitions inside the game. So there are people who are organizing a tournament right now, and there's
Yeah.
actually a $10,000 prize pool. So there is still that competitive aspect for people who want to find that inside of Big Time.
Thinking about esports and how they are a crucial part of any massively adopted title, because in my opinion it brings together pros and aspiring audiences. I wanted to develop a bit on Big Time's plans in this direction. Will we see regular dungeon tournaments like the one you just talked about?
I hope so. One of the interesting things about this tournament is it's not organized by Big Time. It's actually organized
By
by
the
the community,
community. Yeah.
which I think is super cool. This we had done a small one with a mostly Chinese audience probably 2 months ago, which I thought was really good, and it was largely developed from or bottom up from players who are already out there, and then in coordination with Binance, we were able to put a small prize pool together for this tournament. This was another guild that came forward. It was a European guild and a US guild. They were like, "Hey, we want to do something similar for the US audience. What do you think about it?" And we're like, "Yeah, we can. We see your proposed rules, and we contributed some to the prize pool as well." So it was super exciting for us to be able to watch that the community is really the one coming up with it. I hope there's more. But at the end of the day, it's esports are awesome, but what's more important is that the community is involved and like organically developing stuff. We definitely want to support that.
I totally agree, but I also appreciate the commitment of the project towards the community, because there are
Yeah.
so many games where the community wants to get involved more and they are simply cut off by the developers. And I like this about Big Time, that they also support this kind of community events. And it's basically
Yeah,
in the whole spirit of Web3 and decentralization of gameplay.
absolutely. One of the challenging parts is it's not necessarily that the developers didn't want to get involved, is that there's a limited amount of developers and developer time. And the goal of Big Time right now, the overarching thing that we're all working towards, is getting to a successful open launch of the game. And so we could take a pause on that and make some really cool dungeons for a tournament or something like that. But I think people would rather have Big Time 2 months earlier than a pretty good tournament right now, that's organized by Big Time. And it's a hard decision, but I would agree with that one, and I think our users would as well. But the fact that the community came up with something on their own, I think is totally cool. I'll be real with you. I would have never thought of the types of gameplay that they had come up with for a tournament, like a hide and go seek style one, or the you know the testament to the time warrior, and then for the quantum fixer, I think is super interesting. Um, but that's the upside. That's the very decentralized part of it, where users who are really grinding out the game know how to make it competitive and make it something that's engaging with their friends. And we were like, "Yep, we want to be there. We want to help out with that." Um, Even if we couldn't have done it ourselves, or I couldn't have come up with it myself.
Yeah, I agree. I get asked this often. I know NFT drop chances have decreased from one early access pass to the other, with gold being the one where NFTs dropped quite frequently. But I was wondering if you could share a breakdown of current drop chances depending on rarity, and what mobs drop this type of loot more frequently.
Yeah. So the gold, silver, and jade passes each had a respectively higher NFT drop rate than what's available inside of Ruby. So the gold drop pass rate was super, super high. I think we called it insane on our chart.
Yeah.
And The main reason for that was people paid a lot in the secondary market and in the primary market for those passes, and they were playing a game that was very much not complete. So there were bugs. It was the first time we had rolled it out, and so for people who got in early, we wanted to make sure we reward them with NFTs, and it was a similar mindset with Silver and Jade. Now during Ruby, it's a little bit lower. Some NFTs aren't going to be dropped again. It's only going to be available during early access. But there are some things that we've noticed give you a much higher chance of getting an NFT. Number one, play with a group. The more people you play with, the more mobs you can beat, the more NFTs that get dropped. Number two, be high level. So higher level groups can go through higher level dungeons, which tend to have correspondingly higher or rare NFTs that get dropped. And then number three, there's they drop all the time. That there's a relatively set rate that happens per day, and they are out there. So if you what we do notice is that a lot of players are finding several of them. So even if it's like, hey, I don't think as many NFTs are dropping this week compared to last week. In reality, it's probably because some people are grinding really hard and finding several of them by themselves, and you got to hustle in order to catch up with them.
Okay. But is there a set limit per week of NFTs that may drop, or is it the same chance percentage for every player that's the same level, for example?
It's more like the former. It's a relatively complicated formula in terms of the way it drops, but it's closer to the first one.
Okay. Moving forward, as far as player adoption is concerned, I know many Web3 games embrace the scholarship system as a way to increase their daily active users. However, since Big Time plans to publicly launch as a free-to-play game, increasing adoption among Web2 gamers, are space NFTs going to be rented out?
Yeah, that's actually a really big feature of Space is your ability to rent it out. Um, it took a long time to make sure that that was something we could actually release to users. We've always wanted to do it, but for people who want to be involved in the crafting and the upgrading side of the NFT economy, you're but let's say you can't afford Space, you're going to be able to rent it out from somebody else. So let's say there's a guild out there that has a lot of space but doesn't have a lot of players, but you are really active inside the game. Well, that guild can then rent you space, and then you can populate it with NFTs like the Time Warden and the Forge and the Armory, and then you can use that to collect the in-game token or forger cosmetics. So there is that interaction, absolutely.
Okay. You brought two things up. First of all, guilds. How are guilds going to be integrated in Big Time? I mean, apart from information and custom group finding and spaces being rented out as you mentioned, what are other benefits will players have for entering a guild?
There's two in my mind. So you have the ability to rent space with each other, but the main one is that you have a consistent player group to play with. It's like you want to join the best team you can, and that's what guilds are. So guilds in Big Time, in my mind, are more similar to a guild that you would have seen in World of Warcraft than you would see in Axie Infinity. So in World of Warcraft, people were always a part of guilds. They had people they would play with, they would go on raids, they would accomplish things together. And that's, I think, similar to how guilds are going to operate inside of Big Time. It's a player base. They generally have a Discord, they hang out, and they run dungeons together. It's also a good way to like learn the game. We've tried to make some introductory level stuff for Big Time, but guilds ultimately are really good at onboarding new users into the game, helping them out with things like pocket watches, leveling them up together, and just generally like collecting in-game items together. They're almost like player unions. I really like that. I actually much prefer this type of guild as opposed to something like in Axie where they were trying to overcome a financial barrier to entry.
Right. Okay. You also mentioned tokens. Will we see in-game gold being replaced in the future by tokens, or even better, will these tokens be used directly on the marketplace? Because as far as I know, right now the marketplace is using stablecoins, USDC if I'm not mistaken. And I was wondering if there will be an equivalent to pay for items directly with the tokens, thus increasing the demand for tokens.
So yes, you should be able to use the token inside the marketplace.
Okay.
Two, it's not going to replace gold. it's just going to be a separate item. So like your ability to collect ore inside the game or gems and stuff like that, that's still going to be a factor. The token is just going to be another type of thing that you can collect.
Okay. I saw that artifacts have been introduced in the game. Can you share a bit of their role in the game? What's your opinion on that?
So it's just another type of thing you can collect. So with fragments, it's like a portion of an item. And so when you combine them together and you bring them to a Vendroid, you can combine them and it will unveil a different type of item.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's pocket watches, sometimes it can be an NFT. I liked it because it changes what it is, right? So if I collect 10 fragments and assemble them together, it's going to assemble an item that's different than what you would get if you found 10 fragments and assembled them together. But you still get to collect an item. I always get like a little bit of a high when something drops inside of big time and I can keep it. And it's like another like little side quest to take it to the Vendroid in order to exchange it. So it's just another way for people to collect in-game items and then combine it together while still exploring big time.
Right. So can we confirm that NFTs can also be obtainable through artifact farming, artifact fragments
Yes,
farming?
it's possible, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But it's not every time. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so as a final question, a flavor question, so to say, what is your favorite class and what talent build do you enjoy the most playing it?
So I'm pretty much a time where every single time I play big time. I'm not a super skilled gamer. Yeah. I like the look. I'm just a very big, simple tank type guy. Although I'm pretty sure that's not the best way to solo the game. I think the best strategy I've heard is probably a quantum fixer base, and then changing some of your weapons. So, what was the second question again?
If you had a favorite talent build for the Time Warrior you enjoy, I mean, for example, in one of my videos, I talked about the Unstoppable Shout, which basically gave you a lot of healing when being hit by enemies. Do you enjoy Whirlwind talent build more, or which one?
The whirlwind. I would generally go for the whirlwind and then the shout for sure.
You mentioned tanking. Are there any plans to change threat generation in game? Because sometimes mobs are targeting different players, and tanking in the sort of a classical way in World of Warcraft, where you had one player that had all the enemies on top of him and the other stayed safe. Personally, I can't say I experienced that much in big time. So is there a change coming to threat systems, or maybe I didn't get them correctly?
Yes, but not probably in that direction. So we 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 saw and have been inspired by World of Warcraft and other cool games that are out there, but we don't want to do the exact same thing they did. Um, we will change enemy layouts and like the way that they generate, the way they go after people. But I don't think we're gonna just tie it just to a character class where something like a mob like that only goes for a time warrior. I think we continue to have it distributed among all the players.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much, Matthew. This pretty much covers all of the main questions I had for you.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully, I was able to answer some questions well for your community.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing how Big Time develops, and I'll certainly be here for the ride.
Awesome. We're looking forward to playing alongside with you.
Now we still have the 3 Ruby passes to give away, so in order to be eligible, make sure to be subscribed, like the video, and comment down below what feature you are most excited to try out in Big Time. I will announce the winners in 4 days. Until next time, take care. Thanks for watching.